My name is Sarah Martinez, and I never thought I'd be telling this story, but I need you to understand what happened on July 4th, 2025, in Kerr County, Texas. I need you to know about my daughter Emma, and how a 9-year-old girl became the bravest person I've ever known. We lived in a small house just outside Kerrville, about a quarter-mile from the Guadalupe River. It wasn't much, just a 2-bedroom rental with a wraparound porch, but it was ours. Emma, my eldest, and her 6-year-old brother Lucas loved that house. They'd spend hours on that porch, Emma reading her chapter books aloud, while Lucas built towers with his Legos. Emma was special in that way that some children just are. She had this fierce protective instinct over Lucas that amazed everyone who met them. "Mama," she'd tell me with those serious brown eyes, "I'm the big sister. It's my job to take care of him." She'd been saying that since Lucas was born, and she meant every word. The morning of July 4th started like any other holiday. We were planning to watch fireworks later in Kerrville, maybe grab some barbecue. Emma had laid out matching red, white, and blue outfits for her and Lucas. She was so excited about the holiday, kept talking about how it was America's birthday and we needed to celebrate properly. "Mom, can we make a cake for America?" she'd asked while bouncing on her toes in the kitchen. That was Emma, always thinking of others, even if it was an entire country. I should have known something was wrong when the sky started turning that sick greenish color around noon. But this is Texas Hill Country. We're used to dramatic weather. We're used to storms that sound worse than they are. I had no idea that in 12 hours, my little girl would be gone, and my son would be alive because of her courage. The first weather alert came through on my phone around 1:18 p.m. on July 3rd. Flash flood watch for Kerr County, it said. 3 inches of rain expected. Isolated areas may see 5 to 7 inches. I remember laughing at it. 5 to 7 inches? In this drought? The ground was so dry it was cracked like broken pottery. We hadn't had real rain in months. The Guadalupe River was running so low you could practically walk across it without getting your knees wet. Emma looked up from her book. She was reading Charlotte's Web for probably the 10th time. "Mama, what's a flash flood?" "It's when it rains really hard and water moves fast," I told her, not wanting to scare her. "But don't worry, baby. We're up high enough here. The water would have to rise 20 feet to reach us." Lucas, who was building a Lego castle on the living room floor, piped up, "20 feet? That's like 4 of me." "Exactly," I said, ruffling his hair. "So we're safe." God, how wrong I was. The rain started that evening. Heavy, driving rain that drummed against our metal roof like machine gun fire. But we'd had storms like this before. Emma and Lucas actually loved thunderstorms. We'd all pile into my bed with flashlights and read stories while the lightning lit up the sky. That night, though, something felt different. The rain was relentless. It started around 11 p.m. and just kept coming. By midnight, I could hear water rushing somewhere outside, a sound I'd never heard before, like a freight train in the distance. "Mom," Emma whispered from beside me in bed, where both kids had ended up, "the rain sounds angry." She was right. It did sound angry. I checked my phone. 1:14 a.m. Another alert. Flash flood warning for Kerr County. Considerable threat. This will trigger wireless emergency alerts. But my phone never made that screaming emergency sound. Later, I'd learned that our local emergency coordinator was asleep, that the county's emergency operations center wasn't even open, that the people whose job it was to warn us were as unprepared as we were. By 2 a.m., I could hear something else. A deep, rumbling sound that seemed to be getting closer. Emma sat up in bed, her hair messed up from sleep. "Mama, what's that sound?" I should have known. I should have gotten us out of there right then. But I'd lived in Texas my whole life. I'd been through Hurricane Rita, through countless thunderstorms. I thought I knew what dangerous sounded like. I didn't know that the Guadalupe River was about to rise 26 feet in 45 minutes. I didn't know that 20 inches of rain had fallen in just a few hours upstream from us. I didn't know that at that very moment, children at summer camps along the river were already drowning. All I knew was that my babies were scared, and I wanted them to feel safe. "It's just thunder rolling through the hills," I lied. "Go back to sleep." That was the last peaceful moment we ever had. At 3:47 a.m., I woke up to Emma shaking me frantically. "Mama, Mama, there's water in the house." I sat up, confused and groggy. Water? That was impossible. I put my feet down and immediately felt the shock of cold water around my ankles. "Oh God," I whispered. The room was filled with an eerie, rushing sound. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Water was pouring in under the front door, seeping through the walls, rising by the minute. "Lucas!" I called. He was still asleep somehow, despite Emma's shouting. That kid could sleep through anything. "Mama, I'm scared," Emma said, and I could hear the tremor in her voice. But even scared, she was helping. She was trying to shake her brother awake. "Wake up, Lucas! We have to go!" I scooped Lucas up. He was still half asleep and confused. The water was up to my shins now. How had it risen so fast? "Where are we going?" Lucas mumbled against my shoulder. "Higher ground, baby. We need to get to higher ground." Emma was already moving, grabbing the emergency bag I kept in the closet. Even in crisis, she was thinking clearly. She was helping. We splashed toward the front door, but when I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. The water pressure was too strong. "The back door!" I shouted over the roar that was getting louder by the second. But when we reached the kitchen, we could see through the window that the backyard was already a lake. The water outside was moving fast. Not just standing water, but a current. A river where our yard used to be. "Mama, what do we do?" Emma asked. And I heard something in her voice I'd never heard before. She was starting to panic. The water inside was up to my waist now, which meant it was up to Emma's chest. Lucas was clinging to me, finally understanding that something was very wrong. "The attic," I said. "We go up." We climbed on kitchen chairs, then onto the counter. I pushed open the attic access panel and boosted Emma up first. "Help me get Lucas up," I told her. But as I lifted Lucas toward the opening, I heard a sound that will haunt me for the rest of my life. A deep, thunderous crack. The sound of our house starting to come apart. "The house is moving!" Emma screamed from above. She was right. I could feel it shifting under us, the foundation beginning to give way. The water outside wasn't just flowing around us anymore, it was taking everything with it. "We have to get out, now!" I shouted, but there was nowhere to go. We were surrounded by rushing water that was moving faster than any of us could swim. Even if we could get outside, the current would take us immediately. That's when Emma made the decision that would save her brother's life and break my heart forever. "Mama, bring Lucas up here," Emma called from the attic. I pushed Lucas up toward her, and she grabbed his arms, pulling him into the attic space. I was right behind them when we heard another crack. Louder this time. Through the attic window, I could see what was happening. The entire house was being lifted off its foundation. We were floating, spinning slowly in a current that was carrying us toward the main channel of the Guadalupe River. "Are we going to die?" Lucas asked in a small voice. "No, baby," I said, but I wasn't sure I believed it. I could see trees, enormous oak trees, being swept along beside us like twigs. If this current reached the main river channel, we wouldn't survive. Emma was looking out the window too, and I could see her 9-year-old mind working, calculating. She'd always been smart, too smart for her own good sometimes. "Mama," she said quietly, "the roof is coming apart." She was right. I could see the corner of the roof starting to peel away. The attic wasn't going to hold. "There," Emma pointed toward a massive oak tree about 30 feet away. It was partially submerged, but still standing, still rooted. "If we could get to that tree?" "Emma, no, it's too far. The current is too strong." But she was already moving, already planning. That's who Emma was. When everyone else was paralyzed by fear, she acted. "I'm the strongest swimmer," she said matter-of-factly. "I made it all the way across the river last summer, remember?" She had. During low water, she'd swum across the Guadalupe and back just to prove she could. She was fearless in the water, had been since she was tiny. Emma, we stay together. We all go or nobody goes. Mama, look. She pointed to the roof again. More pieces were coming off. We don't have time to all go. Lucas can't swim that far. You know he can't. Lucas was a decent swimmer for a 6-year-old, but she was right. In this current, with debris everywhere, he wouldn't make it. But if someone gets to that tree first, Emma continued, her voice getting more urgent, they could tie something off, a rope or something. Then you and Lucas could follow. I realized what she was saying, and my heart stopped. No, Emma, no, absolutely not. She looked at me with those serious brown eyes, and I saw something that no parent should ever see in their child's face: absolute adult determination. Mama, I'm the big sister. It's my job to take care of him. Emma, please. She was already moving toward the window. There's rope in the emergency bag. Real rope. I can tie it to the tree, and you can both follow it across. Emma, stop. But she didn't stop. She grabbed the emergency bag and found the rope, 20 feet of climbing rope I'd bought years ago and forgotten about. She tied one end around her waist with a bowline knot. Where had she learned to tie a bowline knot? I learned it in Girl Scouts, she said, as if reading my mind, for emergencies. The house shuddered again, and more of the roof came away. We were running out of time. Promise me, Emma said, looking directly at me. Promise me you'll get Lucas to safety. Emma, we're all getting to safety. Together. Promise me, Mama. I looked at my daughter, my brave, brilliant, stubborn daughter, and I saw that she'd already made up her mind. The house was coming apart. The current was pulling us toward the main channel, where the water was moving even faster. If we did nothing, we'd all die. But if Emma could reach that tree, I promise, I whispered. She smiled then, a real smile, not scared anymore. I love you, Mama. Take care of Lucas. And before I could stop her, she was out the window and in the water. I watched my 9-year-old daughter fight against a current that was strong enough to move houses. She was a tiny figure in the dark water, the rope trailing behind her like a lifeline. Lucas was crying now, finally understanding what was happening. Where's Emma going? Why is Emma in the water? She's helping us, I managed to say. She's being brave. Emma was a strong swimmer, but this wasn't swimming. This was survival. I watched her get swept downstream, then somehow angle back toward the tree. She was using the current, not fighting it. Smart girl, always so smart. She reached the tree after what felt like hours, but was probably only 2 minutes. I saw her grab onto a low branch, pull herself up. The rope was still tied around her waist. She made it! Lucas shouted. Emma made it! I started to breathe again. She'd done it. My little girl had actually done it. But then I saw Emma struggling with something at the tree. She was trying to untie the rope from around her waist, to tie it to the tree instead. But the knot was wet now, tightened by the current. Her small fingers couldn't work it loose. I watched her struggle for what seemed like forever. Then she looked back at us. I could see her face in the lightning that was still flashing overhead. Even from 30 feet away, I could see her make a decision. She didn't untie the rope from her waist. Instead, she tied the other end to the tree, with herself as the bridge between us and safety. Emma, no! I screamed. Untie yourself first! But she couldn't hear me over the roar of the water. Or maybe she could hear me, but she'd already decided. She held onto that tree with one arm and waved us over with the other. That's when I understood what she was doing. She was going to hold the rope steady while Lucas and I used it to cross. She was going to be our anchor. The house shuddered again, more roof coming off. No more time. I grabbed Lucas and the emergency bag. We're going to follow the rope to Emma, okay? She's waiting for us. I'm scared, Mama. I know, baby, but Emma's there. She'll keep us safe. I put Lucas on my back and we went out the window. The water was so cold it took my breath away. The current immediately tried to pull us away, but the rope held. Emma had done it. She'd created a bridge. Hand over hand, with Lucas clinging to my back, we pulled ourselves along the rope toward the tree. Toward Emma. I could see her face as we got closer. She was straining against the current, using all her strength to keep the rope taut. Her arm was wrapped around the tree branch, her face set in concentration. Almost there! she called to us. "You're almost here." We were maybe 10 feet away when I heard the sound that still wakes me up at night, a sharp crack, like a gunshot. The tree branch Emma was holding onto snapped. I watched my daughter's eyes go wide with surprise. She still had the rope tied around her waist, but she had nothing to hold onto anymore. The current took her instantly. "Emma!" I lunged forward, trying to reach her, but Lucas was on my back, and the rope suddenly went slack. Without Emma anchoring it, without the tension, it was just a loose line in the water. "Mama, where's Emma?" Lucas was screaming. "Where did Emma go?" I managed to grab onto the remaining part of the tree branch, the part that was still attached. I pulled us up onto a thick limb, Lucas still clinging to my back. "Emma!" I screamed into the darkness. "Emma!" But she was gone. The current had swept her downstream toward the main channel of the Guadalupe River, where the water was moving even faster, where whole trees were being carried along like matchsticks. The rope was still trailing in the water, but there was nothing at the end of it anymore. My daughter, my brave, selfless, brilliant daughter, was gone. We stayed in that tree for 4 hours. 4 hours of me screaming Emma's name until my voice was gone. 4 hours of Lucas asking, "When is Emma coming back?" 4 hours of lightning and thunder and rain that wouldn't stop. The rescue helicopter found us at 8:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because I kept checking my phone, thinking somehow that time was going to reverse itself, that I could go back and make different choices. The rescue swimmer who came down on the cable was a young man named Jake, probably not much older than 20. He took one look at me holding Lucas and asked, "Ma'am, how many were in your group?" "3, I whispered. "There were 3 of us." "Where's the third person?" I pointed downstream toward the main river channel. "My daughter, she saved us. She tied herself to a rope so we could cross, but the branch broke and..." I couldn't finish. Lucas did it for me. "Emma went in the water to help us," he said in his small, matter-of-fact voice. "She's really brave." Jake's expression changed. He'd clearly done this before, had seen what the Guadalupe could do to people. "What's her name?" he asked gently. "Emma Martinez. She's 9 years old. She has brown hair and she was wearing her 4th of July pajamas, red with white stars." Jake spoke into his radio. "We need search teams downstream from our current position. Missing child, 9 years old, female, brown hair, red pajamas with white stars. Name is Emma Martinez." As they lifted us up to the helicopter, I could see the scope of the destruction for the first time. Our house was gone, completely gone. The entire neighborhood where we'd lived was just empty, scoured clean by the water. Trees that had stood for 100 years were gone. Roads were gone. The little bridge that crossed the river, gone. And somewhere in all that destruction was my little girl. "Mama," Lucas said as we flew toward the hospital, "Emma's a hero, right? Like in her books?" I looked down at my son, alive because his sister had sacrificed herself for him, and tried to find my voice. "Yes, baby, Emma's a hero." But heroes in books come home at the end of the story. Heroes in books get parades and celebrations and happy endings. Heroes in real life sometimes just disappear into dark water on the 4th of July, leaving behind a mother who failed to save them and a little brother who doesn't understand why his big sister isn't coming home. They found Emma 3 days later. 3 days of me refusing to leave the search area. 3 days of volunteers and rescue workers and dogs combing every inch of the Guadalupe River downstream from where we'd been. 3 days of me holding Lucas and trying to explain why we couldn't go home, why Emma wasn't with us, why everything had changed forever. The call came at 2:47 p.m. on July 7th. Sheriff Latha himself called me. "Mrs. Martinez, we found her." I was sitting in a Red Cross shelter in Kerrville, watching Lucas color in a coloring book that someone had given him. He was carefully staying inside the lines, the way Emma had taught him. "Where?" I asked. "About 2 miles downstream from where you were rescued. She was caught up in some debris near the bank." I closed my eyes. She's gone, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I knew it already. I'd known it since I watched her disappear into that dark water, but hearing it made it real in a way that hope couldn't fight anymore. There's something else. Sheriff Letha said quietly. The rope. She still had the rope tied around her waist, and Mrs. Martinez, she was still holding on to it. Even at the end, she was trying to hold on. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Ma'am, I've been doing this job for 23 years, and I want you to know your daughter died a hero. If she hadn't created that lifeline, you and your son wouldn't have survived. She saved your lives. After I hung up, I sat there for a long time, watching Lucas color. He was making a picture of a house, our house, the way it used to be. He'd drawn 3 stick figures standing in front of it, a big one, a medium one, and a small one. Who's that? I asked, pointing to the medium-sized figure. That's Emma, he said without looking up. She's guarding the house. That night, I had to tell Lucas that Emma wasn't coming back, that she'd gone to heaven and wouldn't be able to read him stories anymore, or help him with his Legos, or make sure his 4th of July outfit matched hers. But why did Emma have to go to heaven? He asked. I need her here. Because, I said, trying to find words that would make sense to a 6-year-old, sometimes brave people have to do really hard things to keep the people they love safe. Emma made sure you were safe, even though it meant she couldn't stay with us. Lucas thought about this for a long time. Then he said, So Emma saved me? Yes, baby, Emma saved you. Like Superman? Better than Superman, because Emma was real, and she loved you more than anyone in the whole world. He nodded solemnly. I'm going to be brave like Emma. And that's when I realized that Emma's sacrifice hadn't just saved Lucas's life, it had given him something to live up to, a model of courage and selflessness that would shape him for the rest of his life. She was still taking care of him, even after she was gone. The funeral was held on July 12th at the Kerrville First Baptist Church. The building was packed. People I'd never met. Families from all over Texas who'd heard Emma's story on the news. But the person who spoke the most beautifully about Emma wasn't a preacher or a family friend. It was Jake, the rescue swimmer who'd pulled Lucas and me from that tree. I've been doing water rescues for 5 years, he said, standing at the podium in his dress uniform. I've seen what happens when families get caught in flash floods. Usually, people panic. Usually, they make decisions based on fear. But Emma Martinez didn't panic. A 9-year-old girl looked at an impossible situation and made a choice based on love. She chose to risk everything to save her family. That's not just brave, that's heroic in the truest sense of the word. He paused, looking out at the crowd. Emma's sacrifice saved 2 lives that night, but her story is going to save more lives than that. Because now we all know what real courage looks like. We all know that heroes come in all sizes, even 9-year-old girls in 4th of July pajamas. After the service, people kept coming up to me and Lucas. Some shared their own stories of loss. Others just wanted to touch us, as if being close to Emma's family could somehow make sense of their own grief. But the conversation that mattered most was with a man named David Hernandez. He was an engineer with the Guadalupe River Authority. Mrs. Martinez, he said, shaking my hand, I wanted you to know. Emma's story is going to make a difference. We're already working on new early warning systems for the river. Better sirens, better communication, better forecasting. What happened to your family, it's not going to happen to other families. Not if we can help it. I looked at him for a long moment. You think Emma would like that? I think Emma would love knowing that other kids are going to be safer because of what she did. That night, back in the temporary apartment the Red Cross had found for us, Lucas crawled into bed with me. It was something he'd been doing every night since the flood, afraid to sleep alone, afraid that I might disappear too. Mama, he said in the dark, do you think Emma knows that people are talking about her? I think she knows, baby. Do you think she's proud? I thought about my daughter. My serious, responsible, brave little girl who'd spent her whole life taking care of others. I think Emma would say she was just doing her job, I said. She was the big sister. It was her job to take care of you. But I miss her. I miss her too, Lucas. Every single day. Will we always miss her? Yes, but missing her means we remember her, and remembering her means she's still taking care of us, in a way. Lucas was quiet for a long time. Then, Mama, when I grow up, I want to save people like Emma did. What do you mean? I want to be someone who helps when there's floods, so other kids don't lose their big sisters. I pulled him closer, this little boy who'd survived because his sister loved him enough to die for him. Emma would like that, I whispered. She'd like that very much. It's been 6 months now since the flood. 6 months since I lost my daughter and learned what real courage looks like. People ask me how I'm doing, and I never know how to answer. How do you do after losing half your heart? How do you function when the person who made your family complete is gone? The truth is, some days I don't do well at all. Some days I wake up and for just a moment forget that Emma's gone. I'll make 3 bowls of cereal instead of 2. I'll call upstairs for her to help Lucas get dressed. I'll hear a laugh at the grocery store and turn around expecting to see her. But other days, I feel her presence so strongly, it's like she's still here. When Lucas reads aloud to himself the way she used to read to him, when he helps another kid at school who's having trouble with something, when he talks about wanting to be a rescuer when he grows up, the grief counselor tells me this is normal, that losing a child, especially losing a child the way I lost Emma, creates a kind of trauma that changes you permanently. You don't get over it, you learn to carry it. But she also tells me that Emma's death wasn't my fault, that there was nothing I could have done differently, that the warnings failed, that the emergency systems failed, that we were let down by people whose job it was to keep us safe. I know she's right intellectually, but in my heart, I still believe I should have saved both my children. I was the mother. It was my job to protect them. Emma would disagree with me. Emma would say she was the big sister, and big sisters protect little brothers, even from their own mother's guilt. Lucas started first grade in September. I was terrified to let him go, terrified that something would happen to him too, that I'd lose the child Emma died to save. But on his first day, he put on his backpack and looked at me with those serious eyes, so much like his sister's. Mama, Emma would want me to go to school and learn stuff, right? Right. And she'd want me to make friends and help people? She would. Then I have to go, because I promised her I'd be brave like her. He'd never actually promised Emma anything. He was unconscious when she went into the water. But in his 6-year-old heart, he'd made that promise anyway. Watching him walk into that school, I realized that Emma was still taking care of both of us. She'd left us with a model of how to live, courageously, selflessly, with love bigger than fear. In November, the Guadalupe River Authority installed the first of the new early warning sirens along the river. It's located exactly where our house used to be, where Emma made her choice. There's a small plaque next to it that reads, Emma Martinez Memorial Warning Station, dedicated to a 9-year-old hero who sacrificed her life to save her family, July 4th, 2025. Lucas and I were there for the dedication ceremony, standing on the spot where our house used to be, where Emma tied that rope around her waist and jumped into dark water to save us. Governor Abbott spoke. Sheriff Letha spoke. Several families who lived along the river spoke about how the new warning system would help them protect their children. But when they asked me to speak, I almost couldn't do it. What do you say about losing the best person you've ever known? What words could possibly be big enough? I looked out at the crowd, dozens of families, children Lucas's age, teenagers, parents, people who lived along this river that had taken my daughter and given me nightmares. Emma would be embarrassed by all this attention, I began, and people laughed a little. She'd say she was just doing what big sisters do. She'd probably ask if we could dedicate the siren to Lucas instead, since he's the one who survived. I paused, looking at my son. He was standing very straight, very serious, the way Emma used to stand when she was being responsible. But Emma would also love knowing that other families are going to be safer. She'd love knowing that when the next big storm comes, and it will come, parents are going to get the warnings they need to protect their children. I took a breath. The night Emma died, she told me to take care of Lucas. But what she really did was teach Lucas how to take care of himself and how to take care of others. She showed him that being brave doesn't doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you're terrified. I looked around at all those faces. Emma can't protect your children, but her story can. Every time you hear that siren, remember that a 9-year-old girl died to save her family. Remember that courage comes in all sizes. And remember to take warnings seriously, because the people who love you are counting on you to stay safe. After the ceremony, a little girl about Emma's age came up to me. She was with her parents, and she looked nervous but determined. "Mrs. Martinez," she said, "I just wanted to tell you that Emma's my hero, and when I grow up, I want to be brave like her." I knelt down to her level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Sophia. And this is my little brother, Miguel." She gestured to a boy about Lucas's age who was hiding behind her legs. The similarity hit me like a physical blow. An older sister, protective and responsible, taking care of her younger brother, just like Emma and Lucas. "Sophia, can I tell you something?" She nodded. "Being brave like Emma doesn't mean you have to jump in floods or save people from drowning. Being brave like Emma means looking out for the people you love. It means being kind when someone's scared. It means helping when someone needs help. You can be brave like Emma every single day, just by being a good big sister." Sophia's face lit up. "I can do that." "I know you can." As they walked away, I heard Miguel ask his sister, "Sophia, will you always take care of me like Emma took care of Lucas?" "Always," Sophia said firmly. "That's what big sisters do." And standing there next to Emma's memorial siren, I realized that my daughter's legacy wasn't just a warning system or a plaque or a story on the news. Emma's legacy was every big sister who decides to be a little more protective, every little brother who grows up knowing he's loved enough to be worth saving, every family that takes flood warnings seriously because they know what can happen when you don't, every act of courage, large or small. That happens because a 9-year-old girl showed the world what real love looks like. If you're watching this and you live anywhere near water, a river, a creek, even a drainage ditch, please listen to me. Flash floods kill more people than hurricanes, tornadoes, and lightning combined. They can happen anywhere, anytime, with very little warning. The water that killed my daughter rose 26 feet in 45 minutes. 26 feet. When you get a flood warning, don't think about whether it's happened before in your area. Don't think about whether you've lived there for years without problems. Don't think about whether your house is high enough. Just go. Take your family and go to higher ground. Emma died because the warning systems failed, because the people responsible for our safety weren't doing their jobs, but she also died because we didn't understand how fast things could change, how quickly a little rain could become a killer. If you have children, talk to them about flood safety, not to scare them, but to prepare them. Emma was 9 years old, but she knew how to swim, she knew how to tie knots, she knew how to think clearly under pressure. Those skills saved Lucas's life. But most importantly, if you're a parent watching this, hold your children a little tighter tonight. Tell them you love them. Don't assume you'll have tomorrow to say the things that matter. I never got to tell Emma how proud I was of her courage. I never got to tell her that watching her save her brother was both the most beautiful and most heartbreaking thing I'd ever seen. I never got to tell her that she was already the hero she always wanted to be in her books. So tell your children now, while you can. Tell them they're brave. Tell them they're loved. Tell them they matter. Because sometimes heroes don't come home. Sometimes they disappear into dark water on Independence Day, leaving behind only love and the promise that their sacrifice meant something. Emma saved Lucas's life, but she saved mine too. She showed me what real courage looks like. She showed me that love is bigger than fear, that some things are worth dying for, that 9-year-old girls can be stronger than grown adults when it matters most. I miss my daughter every single day. I miss her laugh, her serious conversations, the way she took care of everyone around her. I miss watching her read to Lucas, miss seeing her think through problems with that intense concentration, miss her plans to be a teacher or a doctor, or maybe both. But I'm not just grieving Emma. I'm honoring her. Every day that Lucas and I choose to live fully, to help others, to be brave in small ways and big ones, that's Emma's legacy continuing. She was 9 years old, and she changed the world. She changed me, she changed Lucas, she changed everyone who hears her story and decides to be a little more courageous, a little more loving, a little more willing to sacrifice for others. If you're a mother watching this, if you have a daughter who reminds you of Emma, that serious little girl who takes care of everyone, who worries about others more than herself, who's wise beyond her years, treasure her, love her fiercely, and know that daughters like Emma are gifts to this world, even when we can't keep them as long as we want. Emma Martinez lived 9 years, 2 months, and 18 days. She died on July 4th, 2025, in the Guadalupe River flood that killed 135 people across Texas. She died a hero, saving her mother and little brother with a courage that most adults never find. But more than that, she lived as a hero. Every day of her short life, she chose love over fear, responsibility over selfishness, others over herself. That's the Emma I want you to remember. Not the little girl who drowned in a Texas flood, but the big sister who knew that protecting the people you love is the most important job in the world. And to Lucas, who will someday watch this video when he's old enough to understand what really happened that night, your sister loved you more than her own life. She died making sure you would live. Don't ever forget that you are here because Emma chose to save you. Be worthy of her sacrifice. Be brave like she was brave. Take care of others like she took care of you. And remember that somewhere, somehow, your big sister is still watching over you, still making sure you're safe, still proud to be your protector. Emma Martinez, big sister, hero, 9 years old forever. The world was better because she was in it. And it's darker now that she's gone, but the light she left behind, the love, the courage, the example of what it means to put others first, that light will keep burning as long as people remember her story. Remember Emma. Remember her sacrifice. Remember that heroes come in all sizes, and sometimes the smallest ones shine the brightest. And if you live near water, if you have children, if you love someone enough to risk everything for them, remember that warnings matter, that water is stronger than you think, and that the people who love you need you to stay safe. My name is Sarah Martinez. I lost my daughter in the Texas floods of July 2025, but I gained something too, the knowledge that I raised a child who, when faced with an impossible choice, chose love. That's Emma's gift to me, to Lucas, and now to you. Don't waste it.